Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is Tom Worth Jr. And today I wanted to talk about something that was spurred by something I saw yesterday. And what it was an interview with a local WFAA, a local ABC affiliate. It was a sit down with a guy named Colin Allred, who most of you probably haven't heard of, and Liz Cheney. And she's here endorsing this guy in the Texas Senate race this fall. Okay, cool, she's a politician. Well, this guy is a Democrat, and he is running against Ted Cruz, our beloved Ted Cruz, one of our 2 state senators from Texas. And Ted Cruz, I mean, it just brings all the emotions to the surface. He just represents the worst of Trumpism, of the Trumpist Republican Party. And this is he's running for his 3rd term. He'll win. We are in Texas. But he came onto the scene, and this is why you know Ted Cruz. You know why you know Ted Cruz, but he was about 4 years into his first term as senator, and he decides to throw his hat in the ring against Hillary Clinton in the Republican primaries, along with Jeb Bush, Donald Trump, John Kasich, bunch of guys, a bunch of people, and he decides he's going to go toe-to-toe with Trump. He's not going to kind of be above the fray like a Kasich or a Jeb Bush. He's gonna go there, and Trump annihilates him. It is merciless. It is vicious. It is everything you knew about Trump. He goes after the guy's father. This is Cruz's Cuban heritage. He goes after his father for being involved in a JFK assassination conspiracy. He goes after Cruz's wife. Despicable comments. This is all Trump. This is part of what gives Trump his bad name. He's just pulling out all the stops, and Ted Cruz goes down, and he very quickly cannot withstand this. He can't go up against Trump. He is vanquished. He endorses Trump. A guy says what Trump says about my dad. A guy says what Trump says about my wife. And I turn around and endorse him in that very election. It is everything you need to know about Ted Cruz. This guy is the worst. He is in it for himself. He will do and say anything. He's just like Trump, but without Trump's power, without Trump's appeal, such as it is. This is Ted Cruz. 2 years later, he goes on and, Senate, 6 terms. You've got to run again. So this is the midterms, the 2018 midterms, and this is the Beto O'Rourke show. And this guy comes out of the woodwork out in West Texas, and he is giving Ted Cruz a run for his money, and it is glorious. And we all know he has no shot, but all the Hollywood endorsements come in, all the Democrat money comes in. They think they can get rid of Ted Cruz. They can't. But, I mean, this guy just electrified the Democratic Party in Texas. Beto O'Rourke did. He went on to run for governor after losing to Ted Cruz in that Senate race. But, and again, this is Texas. He's not going to be the governor of Texas. But in that race, he got within 2.6 points of Ted Cruz. And that was, that was a political earthquake, how close he got. But I went down and I wrote down a couple numbers. The voter turnout was a big thing. People came out in droves. That's what made this race close. Versus, we do have another senator in Texas. He's a guy you may have heard of, probably not, like Ted Cruz. His name's John Cornyn. And although he is Trumpy, he is no Ted Cruz. And when he came up for re-election in 2020, you had a bigger turnout because it was a presidential election. But just for comparison, in the 28 midterm with Ted Cruz got 50.9% of the vote. John Cornyn, 2 years later in 2020, he got 53.5% of the vote, but he won by 9.6%, Cornyn did. Just 2 years after Ted Cruz scraped by with 2.6%. Like 4 times the gap that Cruz had. That's how hated Ted Cruz was and is. And this was before Cruz's most famous escapade. I mean, yes, all the January 6th, all the election denials, all that. Cruz is leading the charge in that. Still does. He's the worst. I mean, we'll get to minions in a second because there is no other word to describe these fools. But after the 2018 when he got reelected, and after 2020 when Trump got thrown out of office, you get to February 2021, and Texas goes through this horrible horrible Arctic freeze, and we have a terribly mismanaged electrical grid, and it's the Republicans down in Austin, it's the governor and the whole state legislature. They're all bought and paid for by the power industry. And obviously, this is Texas, and this grid is so mismanaged. It's not maintained. You don't have the alternative sources back then that you needed, and it's completely neglected. And this storm paralyzes Texas. But I'm up in Dallas, so for a week, I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. It was a full week. We didn't have running water. We didn't have electricity. Large swaths of the DFW Metroplex. As for my house, we had no running water, but we did have electricity for the most part. My daughter over in Dallas, nice part of Dallas, SMU, they didn't have water or electricity. So we're all learning how to live with gas fireplaces, or if you can burn some wood, you could do that. You could go try to find bottled water in grocery stores if they're even open, because a lot of those don't have electricity either. Just a catastrophe. And in the midst of all of it, Ted Cruz, our beloved senator, he decides he is going to go to Cancun and take a vacation, a nice tropical vacation down in Mexico where it's nice and warm with his family. And this local, I don't remember if it was a news crew or just someone, caught him, all in his Mexico vacation attire and carrying a suitcase and with his family, and they catch him and are like, "Hey, where you going, dude?" And he is just a deer in the headlights because he's about to get on a plane to Cancun. Well, we are all suffering. We are freezing. We have no water. We have no electricity. Everything is paralyzed. And he is just caught red-handed hopping on a plane to Mexico, which he disparages just as much as any faithful Republican does. And then he quickly shifts his story to, I'm just safely seeing my family off to their vacation. I'm gonna stay here and fight for Texas and work on that. I'm not going anywhere. It was so ridiculous. He's such a liar. He's such a piece of... He's so bad. We hate him so much. He'll still win in November. But this Colin Allred guy, he's a Democrat. He's a North Texas guy. He's got a great story. I love the guy, and I love that he tries to work across the aisle. And this is why Liz Cheney was here supporting him, because she said, as of now, he is the only Senate candidate that she's supporting, endorsing, whatever, in this cycle, anywhere. And it's a Democrat candidate in Texas, a guy who's not going to win, but man, it's a WFAA interview. I think it was yesterday, and they're sitting down with this local reporter, a woman who I don't know who she is. I mean, you hear the term tough but fair. She is tough. I mean, I think she's probably Republican herself, just based on the kind of attack line of questioning she would sometimes do, but not over the top. It's not like she's sitting down with Megyn Kelly or something. It was tough but fair, I thought, especially here in this market. They know who watches their TV show, and they can't be all in for the Democrat guy. She's asking why she's supporting All Red, and she said, because I know him, and I know Ted Cruz, and Ted Cruz has to go. Ted Cruz is the problem. People like Ted Cruz. That is why we are in the situation we are with a dysfunctional government. So I liken Ted Cruz and his ilk. And then over in the House, people like Jim Jordan or Marjorie Taylor Greene. These people who have no political claim to anything without Donald Trump. People like Mike Johnson, who's running the House now. And I know people can think he's maybe not as Trumpy as the rest. He is. He goes to Mar-a-Lago. He kisses the ring. He gets Trump's approval on anything he tries to do. He's just trying to appear like he's pulling other people in, but he's not. So gosh, there's so much. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House from Louisiana, he's just single-handedly reinvented the purpose of Congress. I don't know if you were paying attention. Much like the Fed, who's in the news today for cutting interest rates, it has a dual mandate to keep inflation in check and keep unemployment low. Mike Johnson has just come out of nowhere and keeps saying he's trying to make it a thing, and it's not a thing. That the two purposes, the reasons for Congress existing, the two mandates Congress has are to manage government spending and to make sure that we don't have election fraud. This is not one of the two reasons that Congress exists, is to manage election fraud. It just is not. And he keeps saying it whenever someone puts a microphone in front of his face. And it is because Donald Trump came out last week and said you can't pass a spending bill unless you have this weird voter suppression thing attached to it. And so Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, takes that and runs with it and starts saying that that's one of the two reasons that Congress exists. And it just is not. And it's so frustrating, but it's so laughable. I hate these guys. But I love Liz Cheney more and more. She's not happy to be supporting a Democrat. I promise you that. I mean, she's kind of, through gritted teeth almost, but she is there wholeheartedly supporting Colin Allred just because he's running against Ted Cruz. And you have Donald Trump and all his minions just doing his bidding. And it reminds me of going religious again like yesterday, but the devil, he can't do his work here on earth. Like, he needs people to carry it out. Hogwarts, Voldemort, same deal. He has to have his people to do his stuff for him because he's not actually there. And Donald Trump was defeated almost 4 years ago and has been out of office for 3 years and 8 months. And he is still having these people, his minions, do his bidding for him, doing his work here in earthly Washington. He needs these people to do this. He needs the Ted Cruzes and the Jim Jordans and the Marjorie Taylor Greenes and the Mike Johnsons and all of these people to do his bidding for him and his dirty work for him. And even if hopefully when we defeat him in 6 weeks and 6 days, like, he's still going to be around. He's still going to be influencing things, and it's going to be really annoying. But every 4 years, he gets older and he loses some influence and he loses the prospect of re-election. But I don't know. Ted Cruz, we will vote against him. I will vote against him. That Beto O'Rourke 2018 midterm, by the way, that was my first Democrat vote ever. I have here a couple numbers for voter turnout. This is the only way, not the only way, this is, I think, the best way to make sure Kamala Harris runs away with it in November, is voter turnout. Here in Texas, back in 2016, there was a 59.4% turnout in Texas in 2016. 59.5% voter turnout. In 2020, 66.73% voter turnout. That is 7.5% more voter turnout in the state of Texas from the 2016 election to the 2020 election. That is more than a 10% increase in voter turnout, in voter eligible to vote percentage in the state of Texas. And Texas is not in play. This is not like a questionable state. I want it to be in play, but it's not. Hopefully it will be someday. It's not right now. So Trump actually had about the same support in Texas. He went from 52.2% in his first time around to 52% this time around. But the Democrat, Biden, got more percentage of the vote this time. So Trump won by 9% in 2016. He only won by 5.5% in 2020. That is a huge, 9% to 5.5% margin. That's huge. And that is all because of voter turnout going up 7%. So if we can get that kind of turnout, then that's why I think we will. Look at all the voter engagement, and I think just like 2020 were historic numbers for both parties, I think 2024 going to be an even bigger turnout. Keep in mind, we had the most voters, and that was in 2020. That was before the vaccines had rolled out. That was, we were in the midst of COVID still. We had kind of been coming out of it for some months, but nobody was vaccinated yet. People were risking their lives to go vote, and we still had record turnout in 2020. That was not nearly as bitter and divisive, in my opinion, as it is now. So we will once again be looking at record turnout. I think that helps the Democrats, but we shall see. Anyway. Nothing gets me riled up like Ted Cruz. We will talk tomorrow, and have a good day. Bye.